In the shadow of the Appalachian Mountains lies a cursed patch of land known to locals as the Witch's Hollow. Many refuse to even speak its name, but those who dare venture near tell stories of strange lights, whispered voices, and a feeling that something or someone is always watching. This is the story of Sarah and her two friends, who unknowingly stepped into the hollow on a dare one cold October night and lived to tell the tale. Barely. The legend dates back to the late 1800s, when a woman named Margaret Halloway was accused of witchcraft. She lived deep in the forest, far from the prying eyes of the town. But when children began to disappear, the townsfolk turned on her. They dragged her from her home, bound her to a tree in the hollow, and set her alight. As the flames consumed her, Margaret cursed the land. Her final words echoed through the valley. "Anyone who disturbs my rest will never leave." Since that night, the hollow has been shrouded in darkness. No birds sing, no animals roam, and the trees seem to twist unnaturally, as if reaching for anyone who dares enter. Sarah, Emily, and Jake were college students visiting a nearby town for Halloween weekend. The locals had warned them to stay away from the hollow, but Jake, ever the skeptic, insisted it was just a story meant to scare kids. "Come on," he said. "What's the worst that could happen?" The trio stepped into the forest just as the sun dipped below the horizon. At first, it seemed like any other forest, quiet and unremarkable. But within minutes, the air grew colder, and an unnatural silence descended around them. Emily stopped abruptly. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Sarah and Jake shook their heads, but then they heard it too, a faint humming, like a lullaby, drifting through the trees. "Probably just the wind," Jake muttered, but his voice betrayed his unease. The group pressed on deeper into the hollow as the humming grew louder and closer. In the center of the clearing stood a well, its stones slick with moss. Carved into its edge were symbols none of them could recognize, ancient runes that seemed to glow faintly under the moonlight. Sarah felt an overwhelming urge to peer into the well, as if something was calling to her. She leaned over the edge and gasped. At the bottom of the well was a reflection, not her own, but a woman's face, pale, hollow-eyed and smiling. Before Sarah could scream, the reflection spoke. "Why have you come?" She stumbled back, her heart pounding. "We need to go, now." But Jake, emboldened by fear, grabbed a stone and threw it into the well. That was their mistake. The forest came alive. Whispers filled the air, growing louder and more frantic. Shapes moved in the shadows, their forms indistinct but menacing. Emily clung to Sarah, tears streaming down her face. "Jake!" Sarah screamed, but he was already running. The whispers turned to laughter, deep, guttural laughter that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees. It was Margaret Halloway, or what was left of her. Her charred skin glistened in the moonlight, and her empty eye sockets seemed to stare directly into their souls. They ran, tripping over roots and crashing through branches, but the forest seemed endless. Every direction led them back to the well. Finally, Sarah grabbed Emily's hand and whispered, "Close your eyes and don't let go." The two stumbled forward, ignoring the sounds around them. Jake's screams echoed in the distance, but they didn't dare look back. When they finally broke through the tree line, the forest fell silent. They turned to look for Jake, but he was gone. Sarah and Emily made it out, but Jake was never found. Search parties combed the forest for weeks, but the only thing they discovered was his flashlight, lying at the edge of the well, its batteries drained. Sarah never went back to the hollow, but she says the nightmares haven't stopped. Every night, she hears the humming, the laughter, and Jake's screams, growing louder. Some places are better left undisturbed. Sleep tight. The story may end here if you can, but the fear doesn't have to. Like, comment, and subscribe for your regular dose of horror, and ring the bell to make sure the next scare finds you